Come on in here, fellas. I'm gonna go over a couple of items of modifications I did on the Henry 22. I normally don't do these on everyone's Henry 22. I've done them on a couple of kids, and I've done them on a couple of Henry 22s I had to repair because the levers were bent. This first item I'm going to show you is just a little convenient trick. I call it the speed load. On the Henry 22, when you take the cover off, there are 3 pins here, cross pins. You can see them on both sides of the front part of the receiver. Top 2 will hold in your barrel, and your bottom one holds in the outer mag tube. Okay. If you want to do this mod, you'll have to drive out the bottom pin. Now these pins have a smaller diameter on one end than they do the other. And on my rifle, the small end is recessed and the larger diameter of those pins are flush. So I would drive mine out left to right. Okay. And remember, it's just the bottom pin. Then you can pull out your mag tube. Now before you do this, take note, if you decide to turn your mag tube, your outer tube, to the left in the manner I'm fixing to show you, your seam will show on the other side. So don't turn it and then be mad at me and wish you hadn't done it. When you turn it, or before you turn it, open up your portal a little bit. And this is a speed load because you can just drop rounds right in the groove of your barrel and tube and basically speed load. Now it may not be that much faster, but the one thing it does is help prevent dropping a lot of your bullets on the ground by missing the portal. So that's the speed load technique. Okay, make sure I don't miss anything here. You'd slide your tube back in appropriately. I do want to go over this. When you turn your tube, you've got to reestablish its little U slot in the tube to push the pin through. Now you just don't want to start drilling through there to reestablish it. It's best to take a small round file and file that groove in it, that little notch for the pin to go in, because if you drill too much or if you punch it through too much, inside the tube will create a little burr. It could actually go through too much and burr, and then your rounds won't feed in the tube smoothly. So for the spot that goes the pin, when you mark it, pull the tube back out. After you get it in its correct position, you can pull it back out. You've marked where the pin will go, and take your small round diamond file and just file your groove in there for that pin to slide through. Okay, that's one mod. Another mod, I call it the lever set screw, and I'll show you exactly why. I'm going to set this bolt back on here, and I'm going to close this action. If all y'all notice, when you work on your Henry rifle, the headspace is established by your lever pushing your bolt forward as far as it'll go, and the lever pushing in its notch in the bolt. Well, as these things wear with a heavy use, and when I say heavy use, a strong person really working them hard, they can wear just a little burr in the bolt at the same area that the lever is touching the bolt. And when it starts to wear, and both of them wear, we're just talking a few thousandths. But then you start getting inconsistent ignition of your ammo because you've changed your headspace. There's not a tight fit of your bolt anymore. So I'm going to show you how to fix stuff like that. And some individuals will keep trying to close the lever harder in order to get that headspace tighter, and in the process they bend their lever. If you notice on all Henry 22s, when the lever's up and the action's closed correctly, it's not a 1/4 of an inch, but there's a good space between the lever and the bottom tang. If you notice on mine, I've got a set screw in here. Well, here's what I did. When mine was new, and I've only done maybe 3 or 4 this way. I've done a couple to repair them because people were bending the levers. Took it to my good buddy Curly Bill Kelly. He set it up on his machine. He found the correct spot we wanted the screw, and he centered it, and he drilled a hole, the appropriate hole, based on the set screw that he was wanting to use. And in this case, Bill decided to use a 1/4 by 20 by 5/8 inch socket head. And in Brownells, it's this number, with one exception. Bill got me one that has a small nylon tip. It's kind of greenish in the video, if you can see it. Nylon tip. Now what this does is when the action is closed correctly, the lever has pushed the bolt to its forward position. I'm gonna do something here I probably should have already done. I'm gonna pop out the bolt locking lug. I'm gonna slowly lower the hammer, pop up the hammer strut, hammer spring, and leave the hammer there. We set this set screw that when the action is correctly closed in this manner, and me holding the lever in a position that keeps action closed, then we tighten down the set screw to where the bottom of it sticking out, the lower tang, would touch the lever. Now this serves a great purpose. I can no longer bend this lever up and force more pressure between the lever and the bolt when I close the action. Not only is it closing properly, but now it's staying in its correct position without forcing it even more pressure on it. Now I've only done about 6 of these, and they work great. I think a couple of them was because people had sent me bent levers, and the whole head space was wrong on them because they had just overworked them. Bill welded up and reshaped the area of the bolt that was kind of niched out a little bit. He welded up and reshaped the edge of the lever correctly. We put the lever set screw in it, and it works great. Mine's worked great now for over, I'd say I'm good over 5,000, maybe 6,000 rounds through this rifle. As you can see, even the nylon tip on that set screw has not worn down. Okay. While I got the hammer strut off, I do cut about 1.5 coils off the spring of these things. If you ever cut more than you find out after you cut it, you wished you hadn't, if you wanted more hammer strength, just take your washer, an appropriate size washer, 1, 2, whatever, if you don't want to get you a new spring, and put that washer on that strut. And I'm gonna put this back together while you're watching. Doesn't hurt to put grease down in the back of this slot either of the bolt, right in there. Okay, because that strut, the tip of that strut pivots in there. Cock that back. Put my spring that goes underneath my locking lug in. Take my locking lug, and if I can hold my tongue right, set it on there really neat like, line the hole up for the pin, push it through. That's that. Cock the hammer back, open the lever, put the bolt on, close it, take the cover, remember the hammer's cocked back, take the cover, slide it on, lower the hammer, it's ready to put the screws in the stock. without the nylon tip, this, once again, this is a 1/4 by 20 by 5/8 was the size we used, and it's worked great. Be careful not to hand drill this. I recommend you don't, because it's aluminum, or it's not steel. It's easy to get a wobble out of this or waller out your hole. So I just recommend you get a good machinist to take care of this screw set for you if you decide to put one in there. And you also want a high degree of thread engagement. You want it to be tight and snug. Put you some Loctite in there and lock that thing down, because once it's set, that is the correct position of your lever. That's all I got to share with you this time. If you got any questions, just ask me on the wire. See you guys later.